Hello. Today we're going to dive into the announcements from Google One, 2025. The focus was totally on artificial intelligence, right?
Absolutely. Especially on the evolution of Gemini.
Yeah, and how it's basically being integrated into every Google tool. Our main source for this conversation is their own presentation from the event.
Exactly.
And our mission here is to try to distill what really makes an impact with these advances, understanding all the speed and what it means for people who use Google in their daily lives. All right, let's get started.
Let's do it. Google is calling this phase the Gemini era. And it makes sense. The pace is just insane.
You don't have to wait a whole year anymore, right?
Definitely not. New features are released as soon as they're ready. And the result, honestly, is a really noticeable improvement in the models. Take Gemini 2.5 Pro, for example.
Oh, that one's really making waves.
Yeah, it's already leading in major benchmarks. Elo, Lemmy Arena, even one focused on programming, Web Dev Arena. It shows that it's performing well in several different areas.
And there was that thing I thought was amazing, Gemini beating Pokemon Blue.
Oh yeah, totally.
It might seem silly, just a game, but it says a lot about its ability to reason and plan in steps, right?
Exactly. And of course, to do something like that,
You need massive firepower behind it.
exactly. That's where TPUs come in, Google's processors for AI. They announced the 7th generation, Ironwood. Right, promising a 10-fold leap in performance per watt. It's this infrastructure that enables not just Pokemon, but especially the scale they've achieved.
Speaking of scale, the numbers are just wow.
Absolutely gigantic. The monthly token processing jumped from about 9.7 trillion to 480 trillion in a year.
That's a 50-fold increase. That's a huge amount.
It's insane. And that scale isn't just a number. It means Google can train and refine its models with a variety of interaction data that few others can, That speeds up the AI's learning.
Got it. And how do users feel that?
Well, there are millions of developers using the API, hundreds of millions on the Gemini app, and that number 1.5 billion users impacted by AI overviews in search.
So let's go searching. It's being reimagined, right? That so-called AI mode. It's supposed to handle more complex questions,
Exactly, those questions you would normally ask in several steps,
like planning an entire trip.
Around there, the technique they use, query fan out, is like the AI breaking your big question into several smaller ones.
Ah,
And then it searches for the answers to each little part at the same time, in their index. After that, it puts everything together into a single, organized answer.
so search becomes almost like a research and summary tool, not just for finding links.
Exactly. It's quite a big change.
Interesting. And there's also live search with the camera.
Yes, to interact with the real world, like in that example with the science experiment for kids and the new shopping features, the virtual fitting room.
With specialized image models, right? To see how the clothes look.
Exactly. Now, moving away from search, how is Gemini evolving in its own app to become a more personal assistant?
More proactive, maybe?
Exactly. That's the vision, an assistant that truly understands your context. Gemini Live now uses the camera, shares the screen, based on that Astra project.
Which was really impressive in the demo.
It was. It lets you talk about what you're seeing or what you're doing on your phone. And there's the agent mode.
Agent, to get things done.
Exactly. To carry out more complex tasks with multiple steps. The example was searching for an apartment with several criteria. The assistant would handle the whole process.
Wow. And the key for this to work well seems to be that so-called personal context.
Exactly. The idea is that Gemini can use information from other Google apps.
Like Gmail, Docs, Calendar.
That's right. To give super personalized answers and suggest actions. Like generating a reply in Gmail that sounds just like you wrote it yourself.
Look, that does sound pretty useful. But this idea of using data from my email, my documents, even if the control is in the user's hands, it still raises some privacy concerns, right? The line seems kind of thin.
No doubt about it. That's the big dilemma of this new AI era. Google keeps emphasizing user control, that you can turn it on, off, manage it.
But the concern is still there.
Absolutely. Convenience versus privacy. That's going to become more and more relevant as these assistants get more proactive and more integrated. It's a fundamental issue that we, as a society, are just starting to figure out how to deal with.
And what about people who create content or develop software? That's where things got cinematic.
They really did, right? Creative tools have taken a leap forward. Imaging 4 now generates images with higher quality, better text understanding, and faster.
And Vero 3 for video.
That one was amazing. Now, with native audio, it doesn't just create the video, it creates the video with ambient sound, even synchronized dialogue.
I remember that example with the owl and the badger having a conversation. So good.
It was cute and technically impressive. And for developers, they quickly mentioned Jules, an agent to help with programming and a deep thinking mode for more complex reasoning.
Okay, so we've seen advances in search, in the app, in creation. How does all of this tie into Google's bigger vision for AI? What's the big picture?
If we connect the dots, you can see the ambition to create a world model, an AI that understands and even simulates the real world.
Uh-huh.
And a proactive universal assistant. That vision from the Astra project we saw in the demo. The applications in robotics, the partnership with IRA for accessibility.
To help people with visual impairments.
Exactly. It shows that the goal goes beyond our everyday use. It aims to integrate AI into the physical world in a useful way.
So, to sum up, we have a Gemini that's faster, more capable, AI becoming more present, more integrated into everything at Google Search. App,
Yes.
more personalized, with personal context, acting as an agent to perform tasks, and with super powerful creative tools like Imaging 4 and VU3.
Exactly.
The interaction is becoming more fluid, almost like talking to an assistant that really understands us.
And that brings us to that final reflection, right? As these AIs become real agents, acting on our behalf, using our context, how do we find the right balance?
Where do we draw the line?
Exactly. Where do we set the boundary between this incredible convenience they offer and the need to maintain control, autonomy, and privacy in our digital lives and increasingly our physical lives too? I think that's the big question for the next phase of all this technology.